Kyurem has struggled a lot throughout its competitive career. In competitive singles, Kyurem has been pretty bad overall. It has never been ranked OU in generations 5 through 7. It was UUBL in Gen 5, which is the closest it has gotten, and in both Gen 6 and Gen 7, it was RUBL. This might be surprising considering Kyurem has one of the highest base stat totals out of all Pokemon that are ranked OU or below, and its stat distribution is quite good as well. Not to mention having access to Step Ice Beam, one of the strongest offensive moves you could have, and yet it has been rather awful. However, all of this changed with its reintroduction in Generation 8. Not only did Kyurem escape the RUBL tiering and became an OU Pokémon, but it even got banned to the Uber's tier. So what happened to Kyurem? How did it go from an awful Pokemon for many generations to suddenly a banworthy, broken Pokemon in Generation 8? As a legendary Pokemon, Kyurem has some very good stats. Kyurem possesses a high 130 base attack and special attack stat, as well as very good bulk across the board, especially for an offensively oriented Pokemon. Not to mention its good speed stat of 95 base. Kyurem's powerful Step Ice Beam is a force to be reckoned with, as it can hit most of the OU tier for neutral damage and hit all of the dragon types for super effective damage. Kyurem also has near perfect coverage to back up its Ice Stab in the form of Earth Power. Earth Power can hit Steel and Fire types for super effective damage, while Ice Beam can hit Flying types and Grass types for super effective damage. This coverage makes Kyurem very difficult to switch into, as it can threaten most Pokemon with a powerful super effective move, or at least a neutral one. Not to mention having that powerful Draco Meteor. But it was easier to spam Ice Beam, as it had no drawbacks. Kyurem even has Focus Blast to deal massive damage to the Titan of Gen 5 OU, Tyranitar. However, Ice Beam and Earth Power were often enough, unless you're running a Choice Pack set. This because Kyurem could greatly take advantage of Substitute. Kyurem's naturally high bulk allows to set up a substitute on a lot of passive Pokemon like Ferrothorn, Rotom Wash, and Tentacruel. Thanks to its ability Pressure, it could also PP stall Gyro Ball from Ferrothorn, and would use Roost to keep itself healthy and set up more substitutes, while threatening switch-ins with that great Ice Plus ground coverage. Kyurem's 95 base speed also allows to get the jump on offensive threats that could otherwise threaten it, like Dragonite, Breloom, and Excadrill. However, Kyurem is not OU for a reason, or should I say multiple ones. While Kyurem loves a step boost on Ice Beam, that same Ice typing is also a very big weakness. Ice is notoriously known as the worst defensive typing ever, as it only has one resist, which is Ice itself, and is weak to a lot of common typings. This leaves Kyurem weak to common attacking types like Fighting, Steel, and Stealth Rock, and as an extension Rock attacks. Not to mention that Kyurem's Dragon typing leaves it weak to Dragon attacks, which there are a lot of in Gen 5. Sure, it has high bulk, but that bulk means very little if you are hit for super effective damage by a lot of moves. Kyurem's 95 base speed also leaves it easily revenge killed by common faster threats that can hit it for super effective damage like Latios, Keldeo, and Jirachi. These common type weaknesses and hazards make it very difficult for Kyurem to actually get on the field and do something. Kyurem's Stealth Rock weakness will assure that it takes 25% upon entering the field, not to mention it also being susceptible to spikes and toxic spikes. Hazards are also difficult to remove in Gen 5 as Rapid Spin is the only way to do so, and Jellicent is a common Pokemon used in the OU tier to block Rapid Spin. Kyurem also has to compete with its superior form, Kyurem Black, for team slot. Now just to be clear, it's not outclassed by Kyurem Black, but since you cannot run both of them on the same team, you had to make a choice, and Kyurem Black was used more often. Kyurem also faced competition from Latios, which is by far the strongest wall breaker in the Gen 5 OU metagame. Latios has the same special attack stat, is significantly faster, and is not so very susceptible to hazards. However, Kyurem can set itself apart with its ice ground coverage, and also not having to fear being pursuit trapped by Pokemon like Tyranitar. In Gen 6, Kyurem fell to the RUBL tier for multiple reasons. Both Ice Beam and Draco Meteor got their base power reduced, and so did Kyurem's overall damage output as a result. Fire types also made life a little more difficult, as Draco Meteor was less spammable, and it added another weakness to Kyurem's already poor defensive typing. So it dropped to UU. Sure, the default buff helped it out, but it was not enough for it to save from dropping not only to UU, but also RU and eventually getting banned there. Gen 7 was basically a repeat of Gen 6, but in Gen 7 Kyurem had no shot at being OU thanks to the introduction of the Tapus, especially Tapu Fini, which was Kyurem forever. However, everything changed for Kyurem with its reintroduction in Gen 8. Kyurem rose up from RUBL to OU. Kyurem gained several impactful buffs that helped it out, most notably Freeze Dry, Dragon Dance, Icicle Spear, and the introduction of heavy duty boots. Thanks to Freeze Dry, Kyurem could now hit all of the bulky water types with a super effective Stab Freeze Dry, which still has a respectable base power compared to Ice Beam. Choice Specs Kyurem was the most dominating set in Gen 8 OU for a while, thanks to it being able to basically 2-hit KO anything with the combination of Ice Beam, Root Power and Freeze Dry. It didn't even use Draco Meteor sometimes, because of how good its coverage already was. Kyurem even started experimenting with Never Melt Ice as its item of choice, plus Roost. Never Melt Ice still gave it that boost to Ice move to net the 2-hit KOs on common walls, while also being able to change up moves. This made switching into Kyurem even more difficult, as it could be hard to tell if Kyurem was running Specs or Never Melt Ice. Imagine switching your Heatran in on a predicted Ice Beam and getting 1-hit killed by Earth Power the next turn, thinking it was choice locked. And with Roost, Kyurem could heal up the residual damage it got from Stealth Rock. Kyurem could absolutely destroy balance teams, but at least its poor speed stat meant it got outpaced by a lot of faster threats. But actually it didn't, because you could just use Scarf, and now Kyurem get the jump on all of these Pokemon, while turning Kyurem into a great late game cleaner. The only Pokemon that could really take it on reliably were Blissey and Scizor rose up from UU to OU just because of that. Not even done about Kyurem yet. Kyurem's substitute set was a lot better, thanks to it gaining Freeze Dry, making it harder to wall, and Heavy Duty Boots getting rid of that Stealth Rock weakness, and PP stalling any passive Pokemon, making it an excellent stall breaker. This set also required different counterplay, as Blissey would get stalled out, but Volcarona could check this set, unlike the Spec set where it would get obliterated by Draco Meteor. Kyurem could also go the physical route with Dragon Dance and Icicle Spear. But Kyurem is not your typical Dragon Dance user. Kyurem would abuse its bulk and go with a combination of its substitute set, but replacing Freeze Dry and Earth Power with Dragon Dance and Icicle Spear. This set could easily accumulate multiple Dragon Dances against passive Pokemon and stall them out with pressure, while keeping itself healthy with Roost to get up more substitutes. This set could even beat Heatran with only Icicle Spear, which is a 4x resist. This set could easily get out of hand with just 1 or maybe 2 Dragon Dances, which, like I said, are not hard to set up. This made facing Kyurem terrifying, as every team needed at least 2 different Pokemon to counter all the sets it could use. Not to mention that when it hits the field, you wouldn't know what set it was running. And at that point, you could already be down a teammate. So as you can imagine, Kyurem got banned, and rightfully so. Just like Kyurem, its counterparts Zekrom and Reshiram shared a similar fate. Zekrom also started off pretty awful, but became broken in Gen 8, whereas Reshiram just was bad overall. I made 2 videos about these Pokemon as well, which you can check out on the screen. So what do you think about Kyurem's insane rise from a pretty awful RUBL Pokemon? It became so broken that it got banned to Ubers. Do you think Kyurem would stay in OU if it were to return to Gen 9? Let me know down below in the comments. Consider liking the video and subscribing if you are new, if you want to see more competitive Pokemon analysis videos like this one. And thanks to my current members for their support. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.